get on here really quick to make a time count connection. And excuse me, but hi, what's up? I can't make my normal voice because I am so congested. Since we made this recent speaker connection, that's basically been out of order within all of us. The speaker connection has been out of order in all of us for about 2 years. All of us. Either this is where your activation stopped, or from the other side, this is where your connection and ability from channeling that energy stopped. And so excuse me for my clearing, but that's what's happening. And I know a lot of y'all are either feeling this or you're about to. Oh, man. And the reason I'm on here is because the energy that we're in right now, we've got the moon that just left Scorpio. It's at 0 degrees of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules Scorpio. And what we're starting to finally unravel as we're having to turn on servers, point servers to different servers. This is what's going on in my world right now. Most importantly, how it's getting stalled and emails getting sent to spam, and just the amount of detail and attention that we're having to go through in order to do the most mundane things in 3D, like turn on your website. And the reason that we're having to do that is because of the binds that were put on the star systems and held in vectors and vacuums in order to send out a macro frequency, which is what you would call Wi-Fi. Now, on the last video or the video before, I was talking to y'all about the fact that what we didn't know before that we know now, especially, and I'm not talking about everybody, this is ancient. If you are ancient and you have ancient DNA strands, if you have Saturn retrograde in your chart, number one, that's a big one right there. If you have Saturn retrograde in your chart, then you're on my ancient crew. We've been doing this over and over and over and over and over and over and over, trying to get it right in other timelines, because it's a convergence from one sphere to another. You've got an organic aspect that creates a mirror image in a vector to an artificial one. You're gonna have that mirroring until the energetic of one overpowers the bubble reflection. Now, Spica, as in the Bible, Spica is the wheat. Spica is the frequency in your body with all of your energy attached in, cleared out, attached into star rays and currents, not planets. Star rays and currents, what it produces and attaches to in your body is body consciousness. And what we, with me in this, and I need to ask her if it's okay to say her name, but it's one that I traveled with before that was with me whenever 2022 hit, which is when They were attempting to bind all of us again in order to create Wi-Fi and technical electric grids, everything else, because human energy is used to do everything down here. That was the problem. That's why the codes in the human body never were able to connect fully. Hold on. I'm on live. I'm on YouTube. I'm on live. They just got home. I don't know. This is all happening the way it needs to happen right now, and this crazy because of what's merging right now, because of all the different timelines that we changed. Now going back to when we're talking about that energy that's above the human, you know, that's even what anime and Avatar and even a collective of humans hopped up on Mercury. So like a collective of humans hopped up on Mercury, all watching the same thing, getting that imprint, then kind of goes through you like a projection. If you get enough ants to look at the same thing at once, I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. This is now what I'm describing to you is that without intention and without consciousness and without the collective making something powerful, nothing's powerful. So this merge is literally like, and what you can even consider AI and the entire human harvesting system that was down here. Because the whole population, that's what a planetary system is. That's why this evolution is a solar evolution. It's a solar ascension. It's not a planetary assistance. It's not planetary assistance. It's not, oh, okay, Earth just turned on its side. Okay, they're not ready yet, and just turn them on its side. No. This is a, because it had gotten so deep. That's a problem. It had broke down. It broke down to nothing. Now, what happened was, because each human set of codes that are in your DNA are set up into an organic system that is quite unbelievable and beautiful, which is how we all know this now, on how the planets interact with the DNA of the collective. Could think about it. There has to be a way in order to get an SOS out to the entire human race. There has to be a way in order to change the DNA to new evolutionary cycles. And what we were stopping was the process and how they always determined it before, because it had changed erratically from what it began with. Because it was getting depleted. This was always about the sixth root race. They were lost. It's because they had lost connection to one. It's like a printout of a printout of a printout of a printout of a printout. Well, then but those printouts at 6 all had their own consciousness. All could see shit that blows your freaking mind. I mean, it's like the amount of remote viewing skills, and it's like I can't, like, I don't even know. Y'all write me below if you have these skills that you can see us feminines, because you masculine, some of y'all, holy shit. Like, I know the ones that are powered by organizations called the handler and prisoner system in the industry are something fucking nuts. Because all of us that have been walking these timelines that are merging, they're merging right now, but understand that what's happening is the human frequency is changed now to where it's gonna line up with a different setting. It's kind of like how I said on the last video, okay, the electricity is changing to a different frequency. Well, if you've been watching me for a while and saw how far I had to go when I was yelling at y'all in California, and I Y'all knew I knew what I was talking about, and you knew I knew that it was really happening and I wasn't crazy. But if you just watched it and came on it, you'd think it was nuts. Well, that's because I was all the way at the 55th dimension, and that's where I had to learn how to channel Japanese code to produce physics. You have to understand that whenever you're talking to those of y'all that have been watching me for a while, you've been involved in it too. And however you've been in your house, if you're just finding me right now, then it's to let you know that this whole time we've been mirroring back higher collective currents to replace all of these that were put in a gate. It's why you have to raise your frequency. You have to get out of some matrices things. You've got to, it really just depends on who you are. It really just depends on who you are. Some of y'all, everybody's where they're supposed to be, but right now, until, I mean, for sure past October, we really are like unwinding from a whirlpool galaxy is the best way to think about it. And it really is. The M51 is the whirlpool galaxy, and we just made the connection today, undoing all of this, that is showing me that somehow the simulation and Vegas money machine in the matrix grids was set up on the M51 galaxy. M51 sun. It's called the M suns because there's more than one sun. That's what I told y'all. This is a solar ascension. And the frequency that we're going back to ain't just the next sun on the loop. It ain't just the next one on the notch. Where it's gonna land and pole, it basically allows everyone to break out of the wheel. This is why tribulation is 7 years. This is how the masses are fixing to start their tribulation, but the frequencies are being set right, meow, and lining up in these ecliptic grids, connecting energetics from 2 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever you need to connect into in order to refill yourself or to finish processing something or to integrate something, no matter. And all of us produce a frequency pattern as we all enter Virgo. And this is where this big hinge that's happening right now is because Leo, Regulus, moved out of Leo. It takes 1,000,000 years, but Regulus does move out of Leo. It moves into Virgo. Well, the question that I have not been able to determine is exactly where it currently is in Virgo, because I don't think it moves 0 degrees, because I don't think it just moved. It's been moved. And because anything that you'd call spiritual connections, quantum connections, even whenever we're talking about the fact that from a soul perspective, we were dying down here and we were just coming right back. It's like we weren't getting a redo, which is basically what Lyra ended up being in Capricorn. Because as far as the data that I've seen, and because my Venus with this October 7th birthday was been all to do the past, if you know anybody with an October 7th birthday, I bet you do. Now, October 7th is the birthday on my natal chart. It's also Putin's birthday, but it's also all of us that were born inside the simulation under specific energetics. And this was Hunt for Red October, and this was the making of October, which was always done off Caesar energy until we came and broke the wheel. It's freaking nuts. I had to just get on here, and I'm just channeling because I'm making the connections. Vegas, we knew the divine feminine from under the, because basically the whole thing has to be rebirthed. All the humans work with the planetary systems to create our reality. When you have Earth and you're from Earth, then you have Earth in your grids. Wherever you go in space, no matter where it's at, there's going to be some type of Earth projections that are coming out of you because you were down in the Earth sequence for so long, blooming it out. You take a whole bunch of earthlings and put them on a ship and take them to Andromeda, then you're going to manifest some shit. Well, we got 2 astronauts stuck somewhere, don't we, right now? And even whenever they got stuck there, when they flew that rocket, oh, I can't remember what date it was, but I can promise you that I was lining up some astronomy that day in order to finish what I'm in here talking to you about right now. And it was something important, and it had to do with getting DNA out there and seeding it, because that is how interconnected it gets when you start hybridizing kings and queens. It's how easy it is to get it down to one, connected into everybody, believe it or not. You ain't got to be down here very long in a 100-year cycle of this crazy shit that's been going on this long in order to get that connection. That's why we had 40,000 Christ down here. This is why this ain't no planetary system. The whole thing, I said a system again, the whole thing had to blow up because the frequency of all of us that were maintaining that higher frequency had been there so long, it had turned into the screens, it had turned into the projection, it had turned into the plasma. You see what I'm saying? So the more ancient you are, the more meta you became. The more in pixels, in bits projected from ashes you became in your etheric body form. The whole game was coming in and taking the human race, getting stuff into them, which even started with the wheat. This is how long this has been manifesting. This is the great work. This is the great work. This is the finishing of the great work. The wheat was sent down here, and then it got into all the human beings, and that became connected with. This is why there's certain stages of this ascension that you won't be able to eat meat. I mean, wheat. See, meat, wheat, eat, WH, or then an M, same thing. Depending on your blood type frequency, maybe you might not be able to do either for a while. But there will be a time that you can't process wheat. Your body will. It created celiacs. It created fibromyalgia. But this is why. Because that connection was cut off to the cosmos and then sit back down and charged like a microwave. Is how the whole thing was set up energetically from within the human being. But you have to remember that the whole time that they were doing this, it was being undone at the same time. It was instantly, a lot of us, it just depends. When that energy comes for you, when you're like me and you've been through consciously the shifts and then in and out so many times this last shift because I went to 0 point, right? But remember, I was hybridized and made by the government to be able to do that. And put in a hyperbaric chamber and basically my frequency reduced. Now, I say all that and not as a victim. The only victimization part on that is that the government then wouldn't let us out. And this all started in 1972. This was like a 50-year cycle. It was like 10 50-year counts. That was all that was left in order to be able to even siphon from 1972. If you're the group that came in with the 1972 keys that were made from the 1940 flip that produced 1960s, then the whole time it's been creating an alternate reality. And for all of us, the past, since 2020, that's what we've been defending. That's what we've been proving within our spirit and etherics and the power that we have and whatever we've been doing alchemy wise with the key, with the collective and the driving and the grid working and connecting it from the bottom half of the magnetic with your car, with your engine, with whatever it was, into the etherics, but your body being the connection, because your etheric grids have opened up so much it's plowing a hole at the top and the bottom at the same damn time. Then the whole bubble and playing field started lifting. Then, as soon as we got up there, there's a net that wanted to mirror it back down on you. Then it was defending. Then it was imposters. Because then you were seeing the ones that were in your channels that you had just made, but it's because it just mirrored back down. Well, that's what happens when you get to the 55th dimension. That's why the human DNA can't go past the 55th dimension. Not right now. But out there at 55, it's your soul bouncing around, flying around the cosmos, flying in and out of the sun. You literally don't have a body. And that is what Spica was. Spica in the wheel at 22 degrees of Libra, so 20 to 24, in the middle of Arcturus, is the wheat, and it's the highest frequency that comes out of the body to make a tone, basically. And it's the tongue on the dragon's mouth of the galactic friggin' roller coaster we've been on within the alpha draconic DNA. It's where you want to come out of. And it's where your frequency is producing your reality. But it's because you're tuned into everybody else down here. That's how, when you become prophetic, and whenever you start saying things or spitting gematria codes, that's what you're doing. You're picking up the collective, the highest collective current, and you're channeling it through a song, through a beat, through a cadence. But that's what you're doing. You're picking up the code. And then you're grounding it into the reality, which is why the prophetic ones, they're got a lot of Libra in our charts, because we're judgment. It's going to happen to us. That's why you're the karma. You're dealing the karma, because they're the reason that they go down in history as the most evil motherfuckers is because what they did whenever you came in to connect and prove for the entire collective, not yourself. That's why it's so much power. It basically spit. If you're the dragon's tongue, then you're going to spit into the cosmos. You don't have to freaking blow in a horn and pray it gets to the end. You speak into the cosmos, and then you tune the whole damn rest of the snake. Or in our case, we blew it up. We unzipped out of that body and created a new one to get out of it. With other people still in 5 different dimensional frequency bands within it, because they had already been loaded up. So right now what's happening is these stars are connecting, and currents are going to be, when the moon comes up tonight, notice your frequency change. And tomorrow night, next 48 hours. So tonight's moon, and today's the 9th, so the 11th, up until the moon on the 11th. But notice the shift in you, and even anything that changes or happens, or the frequency around you, when the moon starts coming up over the next 3 days. It's starting tonight. And the reason is moon and Mercury are now tuned to the same frequency. So the moon and Mercury are going to, like in a whirlpool, spinning. Aquarius, hypnotized. It's because you're staring into the whirlpool galaxy. Well, we're shooting through this motherfucker. We already stopped it on another end and had to wait a year to hit the current again, because it was created 2 years ago whenever we pulled us all out of the Lion's Gate and went raw. That's why we lost those connections. We had our connections, We had the connection still. We had the original connection still, but that's why our worlds got smaller. That's why less people were coming around. That's why you became more isolated, because we were still in the consciousness with each other, but we're the ones who survived coming through the whirlpool galaxy. And that frequency had to stay that way, so that whenever we went back into that matrices and Capricorn, that it would interact and create a new dominant, which is what's happening with the moon the next 3 nights. That's why the moon, it's mercurial charge. But don't forget that we alchemized through Mercury. Every single thing that they used against us, we used, including getting my son. I mean, they pumped me personally, I was pumped with mercury, liquid mercury, for 4 days to have my child. That's how they even found out that you could bring in high frequency beings in low settings, from us doing it when we got back in here in the early 2000s. That's why they started putting more mercury in all the vaccines. That's when Gates went nuts in Africa. Because then they just started buying and selling the AT&T satellites are the first ones out there. Everybody's Wi-Fi is coming through that. Then, and your telecom. The other thing is the technology in this industry shouldn't have telecom. It shouldn't. If the digital communication systems that are in your apps, like your Telegram, like any of those apps, even TikTok, in any app that you create a phone call on, or the number is based off your phone number, that's a 369 grid system. That is how they were tracking all of us, through the energy. It shouldn't be here. Everybody should have more of just a code. And those apps were out and being developed. And then at one point, after like around 2021, 2022, it got blocked, and all of theirs went into play. And then we were all vibing off that 369 sequence, because the other one was rebirthing. Well, it's rebirth, but in Pisces we were breach. In Pisces we were breach. We had to turn it. Okay, well, that's happening right now. Right now. The reason it was breach in Pisces is because number 32 on Cohu 32 is basically, I call it the hybrid space station. It's a galactic point. It's built at 23 degrees of Pisces, but it's really a Zeta Reticuli degree. So it's a mutant degree. What we found out is that number 32 was built from number 31, which is Archangel Gabriel, which is Fomalhaut. So, and it was holding Regulus like a sword. It became the G. Everything was about controlling Fomalhaut, which was that dense red and black star. It's way out, but it's Archangel Gabriel. And this is where the original split happened, because everything was mirroring from Aquarius into Pisces, and that's why it became the archangle. Well, a straight archangle, 3 degrees Pisces, is going to hit what? 3 degrees Virgo, not Leo. That's like I'm seeing a clock right now and looking at 12 degree, like 12:30. Well, okay, it should, now let's go 11:25, and it's making a direct angle. Okay, 11:25. Well, that's like it being 11:30 going into Leo. But this is the great work. We finished the wheel. We not only went through all of the DNA time counts of Leo and completed all the DNA strands and went into Virgo. We did it a long fucking time ago, which is what created a quantum realm, a spiritual realm, stargates, time travel, 0 point. Everything that was happening in 0 point. And the entire collective stories of all of the missions that we've been on for the past millions of years in order to do this. Now that bridge is no longer a bridge. Your body's going to be tuned to it. That's the frequency of the technology that's setting, not what was, because it's set to 4 codes. Basically all the 3,000 time counts are gone, and that's where everybody built everything. All of the Illuminati timelines, the industry timelines, the government timelines, the native timelines, all of them. They built everything in a 369 pattern, because that's what the simulation and ley lines and grid systems and geo, and of having it stuck in one place for so long, and then just moving it to the right up a little bit, moving it to the left up a little bit. No. You know, it's like not ever being able to pop that zit. It's like it just moves to the side and then stays there, and then bacteria builds up, and then you move it to the left side and it stays there, and bacteria builds up, and then you've got this huge pus pocket, it's massive, taking up your whole head. That's how it grew. I know that's a gross analogy, but it really is kind of how it grew, like a swamp, because it was so high dense. And what this is doing is raising us, the whole orb, to a higher frequency, which is lining up a different set of M suns that are on the outside to the right, that are what the library that Libra holds, because Libra is the hinge to all these other suns, okay, through time, because that's what astrology is how we even know what Aquarius energy is now. Whenever everybody started charting this from the M suns to begin with, it just ended up, oh my gosh, everybody's going winky wonky. Like, what is this energy, right? As you're coming through from a different energetic perspective, it became named Aquarius for that reason in the wheel. And this is all of them, right? But they all connect into each other, and then those energetics are just describing to you when that energy hits you. Well, now those houses, they've already blown open. They're all floating, because but you're being tested. You're mastering those in betweens, getting to one energy to another, and learning what it produces whenever you're with the collective in that part of the wheel, with stuff like I'm talking about right now. So the M51 is lining up to Aquarius, which is a 30 count. And so all the M330 suns are inside the orb. All the M40s and M50s are on the outside of the orb. And this is when last year we knew that we had activated the M35. Well, here's what's funny. Guess what the new Galaxy Samsung phone is called? Galaxy M53. Because realize that all these technical companies where you had already realized, like, the energy of source code and all that, they were already calling planets, and they were already naming star systems after buildings and companies and all that crazy crap. Like, they know the power of the wheel, so they programmed all their stuff into. That's what propaganda and illumination. That's why you want to control the G. So your whatever you tell that phonetic to do, it's gonna do. Whatever energy, low frequency. If all you know how to do is build up low frequency energy with the collective, then it's going to be on a setting that only powers off low frequency, because the human race has to create the energy to keep it going, almost like you're running on a bike. Well, this frequency repels any type of dark energy. Literally, it's so opaque and light from black. It's like pearlized black, but it's white. But that's why the opal has pearls on it, because it's been in the dark, right? It's been in the dark so long that it's connecting with all those different colors. That's why an opal has all the colors on the outside of it, because it's been in the dark so long. It's going to take all those frequencies, and then you shoot up. You become the oyster. You realize that you made that pearl. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different layers to that, to create that. And I don't know why I went off that direction, because I feel like I just lost my whole train of thought, but whatever with the oysters. And even the pearls. Because in a more galactic consciousness, it's like our little collectives that got ganked because of our powers were like the pearls. You could get one of his trap that was in that pearl, then all the rest of them will come. So Vegas and the divine feminine birthing as a snake, and the cosmic energy coming through the core in order to rebirth the sequences to see what does connect with the collective has already been done. And those have been set. Now we're coming up into them as a collective. Little girl screaming. Ah, exactly. So it's little weird things that are just going to start changing and happening. It's going to, I know it's, because I mean, a different frequency on the internet, I don't know. Like, I know that there's another program setting, and that's where basically, and there's even in betweens on each one, because when we walked through all this in the journey, dealing with breaking the curses, the spells, having to sacrifice by the industry, resurrect yourself. I mean, hello, that's not just anybody can come reset the human race. That's because we were original. We were the ones here that needed to reset it when everybody got sucked into it, and we started living in a vector simulation, because it wasn't even a simulation anymore. It had already gone to the vector 6 root race. Now, from a deeper standpoint, Las Vegas was only in the simulation, right? Because you got a vector simulation. Las Vegas was in the simulation, and if Las Vegas ended up in the vector simulation to be the M51 galaxy, which is the Whirlpool galaxy, but you know what it was attached to in the simulation? Uluru. And a whole bunch of spokes in between and after. But as far as having to come through the core of the planet in order to come through the center toroidal field to connect, because whenever you're in the Gaia energy, or if you're part of the Terra community, then you experienced half of this. Now those two are merging. Because that's what we did. We came up through you get in that toroidal field in the 0 point, which is kind of where we've been, which is why, because that's why it's 4. You're inside the creator columns. This is core source. This is divine timelines. This first group that went through it, no matter, even if you don't know who you are yet or how it's clicked in, this first group of us, if you're watching me right now and you've been on this journey, that's what your lines are attached into. The only difference, the only thing that I had that you didn't through all of this is such a crazy hybridized body, gone through sacrifices over and over and over and over, and the processing in between, to where my body had all the codes to be able to process it and connect it into all the various collectives. Now you're getting that. And I'm getting more connected all at the same time. pretty much every single bit of technology that's come out since 2020 shouldn't have been here yet. Not without an activated conscious collective, because it spins out, because that's what it's built on. Every single one of like the video games, even the movies that they made with propaganda codes and timelines and da 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 da. I mean, all of that's we've had to watch it, because as soon as we watch it, we undo it. It's why we got to watch it. We get drawn to watch it because of the intention that was behind making it, not what you're watching. You're picking up the intention behind it because you've got the in between. See, and that's where this masculine collective that we really, what I also figured out, I mean, because I just reconnected with the person that we had gotten to the pinnacle with Spica and Virgo energy in Libra. And we hadn't talked for almost 2 years. And we know now even why. What happened, like what she had to do, what I had to do, and it was just all this in between, because this energy had to keep building in stages. And because we're so powerful together in the ethers, like when we make technology and star commands, holy crap, hold on. Because we have our body, this is what the cloning and all that shit, no matter how bad it was, that's what ended up being, this is why everybody wanted to be an AB negative. This is why AB negative presidency thing worked for a long time. Because in this energy, your body has the consciousness. It's like literally, you will feel like you just jumped out of the car, like, and you might need to, or you just get, I mean, the more that you master it, then the more you just allow the energy to pick you up and put you somewhere. But you will do whatever it is that you need to do when you get to a certain stage of activating that, because your body will literally just take you. To move you into position. And what's so nuts about it, and what we've been uncovering as that old program is clearing out of our bodies and a new one is connecting, is how much that body consciousness sends out energies to other people. And that's why we didn't know. There's one specifically, and even the body takes over and starts crying when something happens that honestly, sometimes you're not even sad about it. You don't know why you're crying, because you're confused, because the energy, that's what we've uncovered. It's because you're that, and that is part even of the development of the body consciousness, because your etheric body is picking it up from way further out. And it has to clear. It's why until you master a stage of this where your energy is transmuting other people's energy, and you won't go to a bar. You know, I haven't been out for almost 2 years pretty much, but when I was blowing this up and creating currents, I was out almost every night. I was there on Hermosa Pier, and what I was having to do was go into those bars, break those energy currents, get everybody dancing, and the energy pumped up. And I didn't even talk to anybody. That's all I was doing. It's like I was running around there most of the time, like revving up engines. But the last 2 years, I wasn't able to do that because it got restarted. We're just now but now is like our energy current ain't going into a bar. It's affecting like the whole freaking ocean, which is another reason maybe you can't go dancing yet. But you know it ain't that same reason. Those two currents are connecting. The one made in the bar and the one that was right over that harvest moon when I put the skeleton keys in. Put the skeleton keys in the harvest moon on Hermosa Pier that night that I trudged up all that energy. September 2022. So that in whatever was held in that in-between imprint, which has a lot to do with green screen projections, which has a lot to do with deep fake shit. We're taking all their deep fake skills away, basically. Even the term artificial intelligence and any company that's involved with it that's trying to harness it right now, that game just changed. They're not going to be able to harness, because they're not going to be able to just process a whole bunch of images through one fucking source and then have some rando fucking program what everything means and it not interact with anything else in a library. It's kind of what caused this whole damn thing. So now that isn't even going to, I don't know what's fixing to happen with that, but something's going to change because that's all it was. That's all it was. Artificial intelligence, and there's only one that I knew of a year ago, unless another one's open, that had the power in order to process that amount of data. And I guarantee you it's hooked to CERN and AGA and hydrogen colliders, because we just unplugged that today. That's where we got to. I had to call that off, and then boom, then we had to redirect the server. Blue too. Project Blue Beam, Project Philadelphia, all that shit. Everything's basically lining up two separate. Now, at the same time, what I'm seeing out in the collective, whether or not somebody's developing it with CGI and then putting it out there, or if it's really happening in the world when they capture it, is that etheric bodies are manifesting, like coming out of like it looked like a huge Nephilim was coming out of a volcano, or something's coming out of the sun, or even whenever people make any type of video and they spend time making angels coming out of the sky or whatever. I mean, right now it's like, just if that stuff is showing up, it's because even somebody had had to have the consciousness right that second to go create it as well. You know, I mean, that's right on the razor's edge of where we are right now with all of this. Why it's set, and this is why it's so mind blowing. That's why we really could have never figured this out. And also, don't forget that in 2011 December is when I was sawed in half and had a spinal 360 in the top half of my body, picked up, turned around to coil around my spinal column, and bracketed back down in order to do it. And I mean that by saying I had to do that in order to figure out how to get the fuck out of here. Like, we literally had to turn ourselves backwards and really delete everything that we knew about anything in the Matrix to be able to explain how the experience manifested down here, all winky wonky, from the source. Because we were always getting that uncoiled, and that's also, I'm seeing that with Pisces. So everything that I've said when I started talking about number 32, hybrid space station, and number 31, which is Fomalhaut, which is 3 degrees Pisces. It's a bright, bright, bright star, and it holds money frequencies and currents. It holds the lower currents that manifest. And what we figured out is that the Galactic Space Station was basically just mirroring Fomalhaut and creating its own version. Now, what's crazy about the Galactic Space Station is I call it that because that's the energy of it. And if you have that degree, it's what you feel like you're in, or you even know you've been in one. What's nuts about it is that the ship is our bodies. Whether it be one or or 2 or 3, depending on what level that you're in with. But your consciousness is up in that galactic energy to where you're inside a ship and you can't leave because you can't breathe. No, your etheric body is actually the ship. That's why you're up there. And that's the final, that's coming in on the final degrees of Pisces, and that descent into Aries back into your body and form for the first time, because that's what's happening, because we broke the wheel, is now tuned for you to harness Pisces to Aries in order to bridge those etheric bodies, the ones coming from Aries and then the ones falling from the sky, if you will, or coming through the ocean. Because the Fomalhaut and hybrid space station energy have mirrored, and basically what we had to do today is take Fomalhaut, because Fomalhaut was set etherically in a pole position. I mean, it's like the whole thing was balanced so well that it was just spinning. So we had to break a spoke, because in the wheel it always operated as 3 legs, because Michael was never connected in Gemini. Well, now it is. But since Gabriel and Fomalhaut was being mirrored in in an alternate reality that was like taking over the projection, and because this eclipse is lining up at 25 degrees Pisces and 25 degrees Virgo, which is like at the very, like jumping off of the space station, and then 25 degrees Virgo, that's like galactic command. So that's what this eclipse is set on. So what we basically had to do was move that pole setting to, for now, is like the charge from source isn't coming in to Gabriel to 3 degrees Pisces. It's more like that charge is gonna come through the space station and hit the energy of Virgo. It's gonna pin that energy down in Virgo around the etheric bodies, so that it can realign and break it. Right now, also, this is like mastering the ending the work with the time weaving. This ecliptic cycle is 100% lining up to everything that I did last year, with the lining us up, or beginning of this year, lining up to the April 6th and eclipse, or April 8th, whatever it was, and how the head projections out in the cosmos were all lining up into one, because Google and the whole interface that was Google, and that whole thing was built in technology in a certain template setting to get everybody tuned to be able to rule you with sight, kinda. That's why the subliminal codes and everything that we teach over here, we freaking know it works, because we're still using it. Today we had to develop a new Libra one, and now we know why. We needed to develop it in order to squeeze through whatever we were doing in order to get this reset with not just our website, with the entire collective internet system. All the Christ programs and all the beings that had the Christ program, you were involved in making the original internet. It's why we originally came here. It's why they were supposed to announce that we were here. Spica and the beings that are Spica are basically come from the 200 Puritans, the 200 burned at the stake, same thing, different timeline. There was only supposed to be about 200 of us. There's way more. The color that they were tuning in the cosmos, that they were wrangling, this Fomalhaut energy, Spica energy, and the new Regulus energy is lilac. It's lilac. So it's like lilac lavender had its own interface frequency codes in the ethers as a setting. Trying to think of, I mean, so I don't even know what I've been saying on here, to be honest. I'm just downloading what has kind of transpired. The other thing that I've been made aware of is that 100% of my audience is female and 100% from the ages of 45 to 54, which I think is seriously interesting. When I realized late at night, I must have been clearing something that had really nothing to do with. Yes. Yeah. See, this is the part that if you really go back in the Bible and read what Jesus said, and this is why in the Bible he was like, if I can do it, you can do it too. This is why he won't do it for you. He can only show you how to do it and show you that it's possible, right? That's because of the body codes. Being able to embody the body codes, but then being conscious enough to know that when that timing happens down here, because I mean, this stuff only breaks open on processional counts, you know, like I've said this before, 2020, all of the ones like me, we're getting in touch with each other going, what the fuck is going on Earth if I'm this fucking conscious right now? Like, realize that it's like we skipped a whole bunch. It's like we were in a simulation and we got brought out, like, boom. And that's what had to clear up the planets. And it even took us a couple of years to even be able to connect and communicate within those lines. But I mean, this is what we're dealing with. And body consciousness is, that's why the presidents were AB negatives. They literally are puppets. This is how I say everybody's talking about mind control, and that's all well and good, but mind control happened a long time ago. Whenever we got to the end, over 95% of the population was sealed up in a planetary system, which basically looks like a giant fucking mushroom of sorts, like a giant algae of some sorts. Everybody was sealed up in it, ready to take them for another million-year spin on an alternate setting that wasn't human. And the fact that the human holds the libraries to all the seeds and codes, this is why if we didn't stop this, everything would have ceased to exist. There would have been no more life, which is why the hell we got the green light to try to come in and pull off this crazy mission. And Lord help us, it's been crazy the whole time. That's for sure. Because all we've been doing is mirroring and then mastering how to alchemize and what needs to be changed, more importantly, pushed through, connected, cut, to line it up, to push that frequency through. Not to say, oh, they're just ignorant now. Oh, well, my son will be smart. Not like that. Knowing that how it's all connected is how everybody's gonna start getting their brains back. And the door opens. Go that way. Oh, you can't. All right, I think that's my cue. I'm gonna hang up. That's where we're at. And then don't forget, this is Friday the 13th. Oh, if you've been following me in last month when we had those 20 count sequences of 04310, and then we had those 4 0-point days together, and then it flipped again. That is mirroring in September. It's not that it's happening again, it's mirroring it in September, which is showing you what needs to be moved, what needs to be disconnected, connected. Like, just go with the flow right now and allow everything to come to you, and don't pass any type of judgment on anything. Just be where, just you do what you need to do to keep your frequency where it's at, and let it play out, because it's going to be ping-ponging around to line up all these different orb settings depending on what collective rings you're in through the healing processes, because those healing process rings create new higher frequencies. And so that connection to the brain and the body is also showing you when your body reacts, why. Because it's all these in-betweens. And this is also lining up to February. So it's like August last month, which was created from January this year. Is producing a mirror image in September. And whatever lines up, it's going to print in October. Is how I'm seeing it. And then embody in November, and then print again in December. It's like it's going to keep building until the end of the year. This eclipse is on, like, depending on what calendar you look at, it's the 17th or 18th. It's like in the middle. All the sites are listing it today. The 17th last month was a full moon. No, it's next month. October 17th is the Libra full moon. So it's like this eclipse is lining up the October moon. The next 3 new moons are all on 9 degrees. Sun and moon, I've said this on the last video, but 9 degrees, 9 minutes. It's going to be Scorpio, then it's going to be it's going to be Libra, then it's going to be Scorpio, then it's going to be Sagittarius, and then it's going to land on 8. That's why. It's setting it all on a 9 sequence to get it aligned back in Antares correctly. To hit Gemini, Aldebaran dead on. So it's like this next 3 months, as we hit these new moons at 9 degrees, if you will, within Libra, because Libra really is like a step stool. It's like a library. It's like at different layers. These next months to new moon, it'll be hitting different layers. The collective as a whole isn't necessarily going up or down in frequency. It's just gonna have to, it's gonna balance it to see what frequency it's in for the next month, and then it'll have to balance again, and then it'll have to balance again before it sets. So that's kind of what's going to be happening with these eclipses. The annual eclipse, it's October 2nd, and then we've got another one. And not to mention, we've got 2 new moons in Capricorn this year. Well, that's a whole thing. The first new moon is on December 1st. That's the one that's going to hit cap 8 instead of 9. And the last one's on the 30th, December 30th, and that's going to be your black moon. So 2 new moons in Capricorn throughout history is years where time travel is done. And this is something I had to go chart way back in 2018. When there's 2 new moons in Capricorn, it's lining up 2 dimensions, which you would call time travel. Well, in a lot of ways, we had to travel from the future. We had to go to the future that spun us to the ancient past, and then we had to fucking line everything back up again. That's why in one dimension, we're 963 years overdue, but in their weird dimension, we're like 9,000 years too early. We had to meet it in the middle and create a timeline. That's what we've been doing. And that's what these eclipses are wrangling now as we're building our energy back up in it, not shooting through it. All right. I think I'm done. Lord, there's a lot that's happening right now. And it's within these what I really want everyone to pay attention to, especially if like you don't understand this yet, or especially if you don't understand any of what I just said, but you're like, I know I just need to listen. If you don't understand any of it, I want you to realize that that's because this is how your frequency was capped off in these 0 points, and how subliminally and spiritually manipulated. I mean, it's everything that's unseen. The energy that's coming off your body, the energy that's coming off the Wi-Fi grids, the energy that's coming off the Earth, the energy that's coming off Saturn. Where is Saturn? The energy that's coming off the area of space in Saturn. See, that's when you're looking at star energy. That's why astronomy is the way to get yourself out, and teaches you then you get hooked into a different set of subliminal coding that is the organic, and you're producing with it and utilizing it with it, and then that builds up with the rest of us utilizing it, right? But it's connected straight into the star systems. We're mastering the wheel. We're not predicting it. We're not because we just broke out of the most old stuff. We don't even know where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing. But that's everybody that's going to break out of it, because the whole new system, there's a whole bunch of new careers. There's going to be a whole bunch of new things, a whole bunch of new architecture, a whole bunch of new everything. Because it's all going to have to be supported in a cosmic grid system in order to maintain that frequency. Those different constructs will be built in this new age to harness that energetic in the way that we want to, in order to get it out to everybody. And it don't involve digging, and it don't involve electrical grids, and it don't involve, you see what I'm saying? And it's just a mind setting. So right now and up to the eclipse, notice and just be conscious that that's what we've been separated from the past 2 years. And what that layer does when it's separated in your mind, then it basically stops your power of your, because it halts your understanding of the energy to where you can never get on top of it in order to control it in your human form. Because your body won't be able to process it until it understands what it's connected to outside of you. So whereas some of us just kind of lost a connection, some of us maybe lost access to certain Akashic libraries, or we just switched off and went back into the matrix, this is why. This is how it happened. You didn't do nothing wrong. Just the energy switched off. And it was better for you to go do, there was a timeline that you could go do for a year in order to get that, to hide in it, basically, because it wasn't time. and to get you ready for when it does connect in a year. Or for some of us, what that meant is that our prophetic power of speaking got turned off, or maybe any type of superpower that we had alchemy wise, because it was never finishing the full loop in order to attach. The energy was being made, but it's going somewhere else. I know that makes a lot of sense. That part to everybody. That part. So rewind that part and hear that part again. Now what's happening is there's a bridge sequence. There's bridge sequences that are going to put people where they need to in between in order to figure out what they need to do to get the rest of themselves out or whatever. But the whole entire wheel system is set up to pop you out if you're following the cosmic. If you're following inside a matrices, they're turning the wheel, going lower. And those rubber bands are petrified, so they're just popping. All right, now I'm really done. Oh, and it's 4:54 on a 99. And just to put my face here for a moment.